Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll learn Masechtas Bava Batra daf Kuf Nun Tes. We are going to begin on Kuf Nun Chesed Beis by the two dots. Amru lo ben Azai el hachalukin anu mitztarin b'chulu. So on this the Gemara continues. Amrav Simloi Ad Amra ben Azai Talmud Chaver Rabbi Akiva Havi. He was a Talmud Chaver of Rabbi Akiva, and says Rashbam Shita one Demetchil Hay Talmidai. At one point he was his friend, his student. They became a chaver afterwards. Anyway, after that little introduction, the Karmele Shabata, that he said to him Shabata, which literally means you. So anyway, on this Shalchumi Tam. So it was sent from over there, the following statement. Bein Shaloiva benichse aviv, bechai aviv. Let's say you have a son who lent out the possessions that actually belonged to his father, which means he didn't really have rights to it yet, but it was anticipation that his father was going to die, and then he would be the Yerush. So he ended up lending out certain things of his father, umeis, and the father dies. So, in this case, beno moitzim yad halukuchais. The son could take it out of the hands of the lukuchais, of someone who purchased the item. V'zuhi shekasha bidini momenus. This is something which was hard for us to understand. So let's look at this. The Rashbam, he says this is actually only a havamim. It's not going to be the maskana. So, because of that, let's just keep on moving then. So where it says, Loiva my mapik, it doesn't make any sense. If we're talking about a borrower, so what do you mean he's taking out of the hands of Lukuchos? Well, what is that referring to? A Lukuchos sounds like someone bought it. A Loiva is someone who lent it out. So it doesn't sound correct. So we don't understand this case. Well, Od, Lukuchos ma'avidite. Again, why are we talking about Lukuchos? We don't find anything about it being sold. El Yidmar Hachi Yidmar. Okay, so this is the Maskan. This is what we're talking about. As we continue Kuf Nun Testament Alf. Ben Shemacher b'nichse aviv. So it's actually the son who sold his father's possessions, b'chai aviv, while his father was alive. Umeis benoi. Now the son died. Now, again, if the father would have died first, the son would have been a Yerush. But the son sold something, which technically he wasn't allowed to, and then his father ends up outliving the son. So therefore, the son was never Yerush these items. So therefore, the fact that the son sold something incorrectly, it can be taken out of the hands of the lukuchais. V'zuhi shikasha b'dini momnus. And this is what is difficult to understand. The question is, why would it be difficult to understand? The question is, why would it be that we could take it out of the hands of the lukuchais? Because since v'leim rule, they could say avuch mezavin. Your father is actually the one who sold it, v'yad mapik, and you want to take it out. In other words, what he did was he sold his father's field while the father was alive. And then this kid, let's call him Reuven, dies. So the father, Yaakov, is alive, and then later on Yaakov dies. So Reuven's son, it says, Moitzman Lukuchos. He can take the field from Lukuchos. But the question is, that's hard to understand. Why should he be allowed to take it from the Lukuchos? After all, it never went to the son, and that all of a sudden now the son's child is going to be able to do this and take it from the hands of the lukuchais. So it's hard to understand. This is perhaps difficult that Chanoch, who would be his son, can take it away when he's getting it from his father. He's getting the thing from his father, so what does it mean he can take it away? It sounds like Reuven is the one who sold it to me. He sold me this thing. So how could you get it? The only reason why you can get it is because you're connected to Reuven. But if you're connected to Reuven, then why would we say that Reuven didn't have an ability to sell it? And that's what is the challenge. Gemara says, so let's hold off 1 second. Let's look at question 11. Ben Shemachar b'nechsei aviv b'chai aviv b'meis, the benoi, his son, the son of the ben, can be moitzim adol kuchais. Okay, so question is my kusha. Why is that so difficult to understand that Reuven's kid Chanoch can take it away? Dilma matzi amar. Why can't he say mekoyach avua da'abaka sina? That I'm actually coming from the koyach of my grandfather. I'm not coming from my father, but I'm coming from my grandfather. And my father maybe didn't have a right to sell it, so I was really yorish from my grandfather. And therefore, since my father died and then my grandfather died, so I'm yorish from my grandfather. So my father shouldn't have sold it, and therefore I have a right to take it back. Teidan, it can prove to you can take it, it's connected to the grandfather. That under your forefathers, your children, tishiseimu sarim b'chol aretz, that it will place princes throughout all the land. So it shouldn't really be a difficult thing to understand, because he's coming mekayach his grandfather. Ela ikasha hakasha ben b'chor. If you're dealing with a son who's the firstborn, shemachar chelak b'chayra b'chayaviv, and he sold the firstborn rights of his Yerusha, and he sold it while his father was alive, umes, and then the b'chor dies, b'chaya aviv. So in that case, beno, the b'chor's son, kim yotzim adol kuchais, v'zuhi shikasha b'dini mominus, avua mezabin ihu mapik. Basically, because the father has the rights to the b'chor, and therefore he had a right to sell it. So now, if he had a right to sell it, then how could the b'chor's son have a right to take from Lukuchais? Maybe you can just say the reason why I can take from Lukuchais is come from the grandfather, from Yaakov. So if that's the case, so then how do you say this whole notion of b'chor? It says Rashba, it's not his. He's not the firstborn son, right? The firstborn son means this is the Yerusha that is coming to his father. So you can't say, oh, I got this Yerusha from my grandfather, because he's not the Bechor. Why can't he just say, I'm coming from, again, the strength of my grandfather, from Yaakov. So it's like I am the Bechor. Not that I'm the son of the Bechor. El ikasha hakasha hayodeoi edus b'shtar. If you know testimony regarding a document, actual nasa gazlan, before you became a thief, but nasa gazlan, all of a sudden you become a gazlan, hu enu meid al ksav yadai, he cannot be made on his own signatures of al chayrim eden, but other people could testify on this. So, because once you're a Gazlan, says the Rashbam, you become Postel Edus. Says Rashbam, even though a person technically can say this is my signature, as is brought down in the Ksubis, from now, he can't testify about his own signature. From the time that you're rendered a Gazlan and you're considered to be Edus Sheker, you're not able to not believe to say anything. So we don't trust this guy because maybe he forged it or something. So he's not believed on his own ksav, but other people could testify on his signature and say, yes, this is a signature, even though it was signed by a Gazlan, but the time that he signed it, he wasn't a Gazlan. So this is a little bit shtickle mudna. So hashta ihu lo mehimin, if he's not believed, achrina mehimne, mezuhi shikasha b'dinim mominus. This is what's difficult. So my kusha, dilma kagain shehuksa ksav yadai bebeistin. It was already an establishment that this was a proper signature and based it. El ikasha hakasha hayodeo edus b'shtar. Person knew edus in the document. Achlo tipol lo birusha. Before he was able to get an inheritance. So who enu yachol kaim ksav yadai. He's not allowed to use his own testimony because he's not gay be'edos. But others can. So my kusha, maybe it was the Beis Din that established it. Says the Rashbam, it was behenpeik bebeis din beterem hiyos gazlan. Let's say before he became a gazlan, or before he became Noigean, whichever way, be'edos. So it was already written in some type of verification book that this was a valid signature. So there was Eidos before he became the son-in-law. So he wasn't the Karev yet, and then he became the guy's son-in-law. So made al ksav yado, he can't testify on his own signature of acherim eden, others can. So lo mehimnin, so he's not believed, acherim mehimni, and others are believed. Maybe it was already established before he became the son-in-law, his signature. He says, even if it was not established in Beis Din, it doesn't make any difference. Says Rashbam, we just have Gzeres HaKosav, we understand that a son-in-law is not able to give testimony. It's not because we think he's involved in forgery. Therefore, others could testify. We're not going to assume again this guy, he's not like a Gazlan, he's just a Karev. So we're not going to assume that he was involved in forgery, but nonetheless he's not able to testify outside Gzeres HaKosav. But someone else is able to testify on his signature. So again, and that's even if it was not Hoksek Beis Din. So my kasha, Dilma Gzeres Melachi, it's just the Gzeres HaKosav. The ihul mehim and v'achrina mehimni. V'la mishum de meshaker, not because he's going to lie. Diul temahachi Moshe v'Aaron lechais nam. When it comes to their son-in-laws, Yishalom dul mehimnihu. Is it because they're not trustworthy? No, it's Gzeres HaKosav. El Gzeres HaMelachu shlo yid lehem hachanam Gzeres HaMelachu shlo yid al ksav yadai lechasanai. That you're not allowed to do such signatures. El oilam kinamrina. So going back to the maskana, which I already said, which I should have waited. Mi kara. Really, we're going to go back to what we said before, not totally before, but on the very top, Rashbam says, Ben shemachar benichsi aviv, when it comes to a son who sells his father's possessions while his father's alive and then the son dies, so then the son's son can take it out of the hands of the little kuchais. With the kakashlach, we said, Takas avasecha yuvanecha, he could already taina that it came from my grandfather. Hahu bevracha ksiv. That's not really what the pasuk is talking about. It's just telling you that tzaddikim are going to be blessed with children and grandchildren. So when we say banim, b'nei banim harim kabanim, so we can say, so why is it so difficult to understand as Chanach is getting it straight from his grandfather? No, that pasuk is only a bracha, but it doesn't mean he really is getting it technically from the grandfather. If you want to tell me this pasuk is talking about the bracha, how is that possible to establish that? As we continue to daf Kuf Nun Tes Amud Beis, you're going to see this end of the parak coming up. Avol Inyan Din Eloi. It's only also bracha, but Meikar Din, you can't inherit from the grandfather. Vosanya Nafal Habayas Olavi Al Aviv. We saw in a Mishnah previously, if a house fell on two people, fell on you and your father, and they both died. We just don't know who died first. So we say like this. Or Alavi al Marishov, you and your inheritors. So let's say we have this person who has financial obligations. So you have the father, and you have the son who owes a ksuba, he owes money. So Yorshi Ha'av Oimrim Haben Mes Rishon Rachach Mes Ha'av. What are the Yorshi Ha'av, what do they want to do? They want to say that the son died first. So since the son died first, he was never Yorishit, and therefore the son's heirs don't get anything, because the son died first, and then only afterwards the father. So therefore the Yorshi Ha'av will get. However, Baal Chayv Oimer, the Baal Chayv will say Ha'av Mes Rishon V'achach Mes Haben. And therefore the son inherited, and therefore since the son has financial obligations, those monies are now filtered into my obligations that he owes me. So my love, is it not logical? When we say Yarshei Av, we're talking about the people who will inherit from the father, who will claim again that the child died first. That's Beni. He's getting it straight from the grandfather. Marishav is Ache, the brothers. If you can't make this claim that I got it from my grandfather, and that pasuk is only bracha, but really you can't get bi'arsh from your grandfather. So kim meis haben, when the son dies first, v'yachach meis av, and then the father. So what happened? The son died, so he didn't get anything. Then the father died. So my havi. Why would it be logical that helps? Nemulahu balchayv, the one who is owed money, the one who the son owes money to the balchayv. You can say Yerusha savuhin kashaklina. I should be taking the Yerusha of the father. So apparently this is proof that this pasuk is not a bracha, but a taka does work. Lo Yarshei Av Echav. When we say Yarshei Av, it's talking about the brothers. Marishav is Achi Diavua. Okay. Ba minim Rav Sheshis. Ben Mahu Shiyirash Es Imo Bekever. We've had this already in Perkesh Neichlin, which the answer is no. But can a son be Yarish his mother in a kever? Hanchil Achin Mina'av. So basically, what happens is like this. Normally, the mother dies, and then the child will be Yarish, will inherit. And then after the son inherits, and if the son dies, so it goes to the Yarshei Haben. The question is, what happens if the child dies first, and then afterwards the mother dies? So in that situation, when the mother eventually dies, will the Yarshei Haben get anything? Or do we say no? Since the son wasn't alive, he died before the mother, so he never inherited anything. So that would be the question, whether the Yarshei Haben are entitled. So Amilhu Rav Sheshis Tinisu, we learn this. Ha'av shenishbe, if you have a father in captivity, umeis benai, the son dies, b'medina, ubein shenishba, you have a son that's in captivity, umeis of, and the father dies, b'medina, Yarshei Av, Yarshei Ben Yachloku. So in that situation, we split it up. So as it sounds, so Hainu Yarshei Av, Hainu Yarshei Ben. Who exactly are we talking about? Are these people that we're splitting up? Elav Hakikamer. Av Shenishba, it means the father was in captivity. Umeis Ben Bitoi B'Medina. And the grandson died. Uven, some people don't read Bitoi Shenishba. The son was in captivity. Umeis Avi Imoi B'Medina. The grandfather died. Voyadin and Haiminahu Meisperation. We don't know who died first. Yarshei Av, Yarshei Ben, who the Yarshei Av, you have the Yarshei Ben, so Yachloku, we divided up. Navim Isa, if it's true that he can inherit from the mother, Nehinami de Ben Meisperation, I can understand. If the son dies first, Lirti La'avua, De'ime Bekivre. So then his mother's father will inherit it in the kever. Then v'yirtinhu lachua min avua. Then it'll be an inheritance to the brothers from the father's side. Elav shmamina ein haben yarish es imo bekever l'hanchel achav av. So again, we see from here, which we've had numerous proofs, that a son cannot be yarish from his mother if he dies before his mother. If a house falls on a person and his mother, everyone says you divide it up. If it's true that he's yours from his mother anyway, okay, fine, the son died first. So why don't we say, even if it's true that the son died first, when the mother eventually dies in this wreckage, let's say a few minutes later, a few hours later, so the son will still be Yarish Bekever, and then his Yarshim will still get anyway. So inhu achim yavua. So it's clear that he's not going to, his children, the Yarshei Haben, will not get it. That's the reason why there's a whole dispute. Because otherwise we should say, what's the difference? If the child or the mother dies first, who cares? Either way, when we say that the son will be Yarsh, either while he's alive for a few minutes, or a few minutes later after he died, but his mother died afterwards, he could be Yarsh Bekever. The answer is not. And therefore, since he's not Yarsh Bekever, that's why there's a dispute. Who should get it? The mother's Yorshim or the son's Yorshim. Okay, so V'taimamai, what is the reason why it doesn't work? So Rabbi Nemr Siba Beben. It talks about transferring of ownership of property regarding a son. V'nemr Siba Babal, also by a husband. So Ma Siba Hamur Babal. When it comes to a husband to a wife, Ein Habal Yarish as Isha Kever, which we established before, that even though normally a husband can be Yarish his wife's possessions, but let's say his wife died first, and then all of a sudden her father died. So if it would be that her father died, she could be Yarish her father's items, and then the husband could be Yarish from his wife. But since his wife died, and then his wife's parents died, so she will not get a Yerusha, which would eventually, through her death, to be given to her husband. And that's what we say regarding that. And so too, Afsiba Hamur Beben in Haben Yorshes Imo Bekever Lahanchil Achim in Av. Same thing. We're not going to say that the child is going to be Yorish from his mother if the child dies before the mother. Okay, let's look at question 12. Al El Yerusha Isnemer Shein Marish Bekever. So, as we said, Ha'isha is Bala, and Ben is Achim Yerusha Simoy. Okay. And this is also TB24. What did I write? Baal shel ishtay haben benechse imo b'shva achaiso. Ben es achiv. Okay. From his mother. Hahudi omer le'lachavre. So let's finish up this paragraph. Person says to his friend, Nichse devar sisin mizdav ninalach. Famous Gemara in Cheskas Sabatim. Yeah, same as Sechta, right? Feels like it was 100 days ago, and it was more than that. About 4 months ago, we were learning this. So Nichse devar sisin mazdinalach. I'm selling you the field of Bar Sisin. The fields of Bar Sisin. So Chada Ara de Havi Market of Bar Sisin was a field. That's what it's called. Armulei Hala Bar Sisin. No. This is not really referring to Bar Sisin. Havikerhu de Mikari de Bar Sisin. You know, it may look like a duck and quack like a duck. No, this is actually not Bar Sisin. So this property was not in the part of the sale. So Asa committed Rav Nachman. We said, what are you talking about? We're going to give it to the Loikech. Because after all, it sounds like that was part of the deal. Rav Nachman, Dina Hachi, is that true? How much of a raya? Don't you have to prove somehow that this is true through? Otherwise, you shouldn't be allowed to take this field away of Bar Sisin. Rather, it stays by the moicher. Rav Nachman. This is actually hard even to understand what exactly is the stira, but this is how the Gemara there and here frame it. A person says to his friend, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing in my house? You're a squatter. I bought it from you, and I've been here for 3 years. So and there's a taisus on this. I was in the innermost rooms. I was there. So also Kamed Rav Nachman Zil Brar Achilascha. Go improve your eating. So Rav Nachman Dina Hachim Raya. So Kasha Rav Kasha Rav Nachman. They seem to, in one case it's given to Loikech, one case it's given to the Moicher. So, and it's a shtickle plia, because Rav Nachman in both cases says Hamotzim B'chava Raya, but in the one case the Bar Sisin, it's in the hands of the buyer still, and the other one it's in the hands of the Muksuk. Okay, so on this, that's what the Gemara is going to answer. So we answer like this: so the Rav lo kasha hacha moicher koy benichse. Over here, the moicher is holding on to the possessions. Hasam loikech koy benichse. Right. So that is an obvious difference. The Rav Nachman lo kasha. Since everyone calls it that, that's what it's called. Okay, normally we say but over here everyone assumes this is Bar Sisin. That's what everyone calls it. That's what its name is. So therefore, you, the Meicher, have to prove otherwise. Hacha lo yehi el the nakat shtara. You're just like a person who's holding onto a star. Miu amrinan le kaim shtarach v'kum benichse. Establish your star, and then you can take your possessions. Says the Rashbam. Maybe not. I was looking at this Rashbam. Anabal Yarish es ishto kashi meisa bekever. She said if she dies first, then her father dies. It doesn't go to this man. So let's look at this Rashbam. Hakoyel pirshan bechesas abatim b'roisha v'agav gerora demayri masnisim nechasim becheskasa nakad lehacha. So let's look at the Rashbam on Chav Testament Beis, because it's just not over here. Why not? It's only 100 some odd blot away. So it's brought down. The Nichse Bar Sisin. It's actually Daf Lamed. Dear Malachavri called Nichse to be Bar Sisin Maz Dinalach. So the Rashbam says over here. So you could taka just say Anabashuki Broi Havoy, right? But Eretz Merachkim, I was far away. Makam Shin Asheris Mitsuyais. There was no way to get there. Voyadaiti, I didn't know. Anabashuki Gavoy Havoy. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the other sugya of, where is that? So it could be where Sims. So ukma biyadid lekeach kasharot. Why? Because Hasam moicher koi b'nichse. He was currently in possession of the land. Hachol lekeach kom nichse. So that's why I say Mosem Chavaraya. Or we can say no. Everyone calls it Bar Season. So it's on the moicher to have to prove it. But Hachol over here loye elo de nakat shtara milam rinan le lekaim shtarach v'kum b'nichse. So referring to this person who has. This is the Rashbam. The seller wants to parcel it. But this guy has a cheska shanim. The seller is complaining regarding this chazaka shena chazaka. So you have to prove that he didn't live there with you. Etc. Okay. And tomorrow we will continue in the last parak of the longest Masechta in Shas, Daf Kuf Samach. Get Pashit. We'll see how Pashit this last parak is. Ad Kan.